Hi, I'm Mary.
Hi, I'm Tina.
Join us for our Life Choices show.
A show for and by women.
Why do we make the choices we make?
Tune in and be inspired.
Hello, and welcome to our first Life Choices show. Seen you before in the show 80s and the New 40, and this is a little bit of a different format. I have a co-host. Her name is Tina McCormick, and what we're going to have is a show for women, about women. And through women, we're going to hear about women's great gifts. And so today we're just going to have an introductory show. We're going to tell you about what our show will be about. And first and foremost, I'll introduce my co-host, Tina McCormick, or she'll introduce herself.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here. My name is Tina McCormick, as Mary said. And I actually grew up abroad. I grew up in Germany and in Denmark. And I came to this country almost 20 years ago to go to graduate school. I received a PhD in history. I got married. I have 5 children now. And after some moving around, I live just outside of Boston. And I'm very excited to be on this show. And I think we have a lot to talk about. And this show will address the big question of why do we make the choices we make? And there's lots to talk about, especially for women. Because I think often we ask ourselves what direction is our life taking, and what is the purpose of what we are doing? We are a generation of women that has more choices than any generation before us. And sometimes that can lead to some kind of a paralysis, like, okay, what do I do now? And women are often torn between lots of different options. So I think we want to get to this question of why do we make a certain decision? What is the purpose? Who do we want to be as women, and what is our role in society? So I think we're going to be talking a lot about that. And of course there are many different choices, big ones and smaller ones. Mm-hmm. And I think we agree that we make big choices, life-changing choices, but they will also then inform the smaller choices we make, right? Mm-hmm. Like a career choice, for example. Right. Ultimately, the reason we choose that will also inform the smaller choices we make within that career. You know, the focus we choose within that career, and you are an example of that.
Right, and I think about some of the big choices that I made. I think I often tell the story of why I became an attorney. I'm an attorney now in elder law. My career has taken many twists and turns, but that first choice, as you say, to make a decision, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to go to law school, was a big one, because it, as you say, it was an investment of time. It was a direction that was going to take me in a particular place that there was practically no turning back. But I was happy to make it, and I think there are many reasons, as you say, that we make choices. Sometimes people give us counsel, sometimes we have intuition, and sometimes we just react to what we think we should do. I know when I went to undergrad, I made a bad choice, I think, becoming a biology major. It certainly wasn't my strength. But then I got some advice and decided actually my strengths lie in the area of counseling and problem solving with people. So that's one of the reasons why I went to law school. And of course, this is not going to be just about careers. This show is also going to talk about how families interact, how friendships form, how we as women influence and help in the community. And one of the ways we're going to start, we decided we were going to start our series of shows with a show on holidays and the tradition, Christmas in particular, traditions that people maintain in their families, as communities, and we hope that will be interesting for everyone. And and we look at traditions as being...
Traditions are very important. I mean,
Right.
The fact that we keep up traditions is because we choose to, and that's an important choice. So I came to this country from Northern Europe, where there are very big holiday traditions. So of course I brought them with me, and it's very important for myself and for my understanding of who I want to be and who I am, and for my children, that I keep up these traditions in a lively way, right? So choices indeed are mostly so important, big choices, that they will stick with us all our lives.
And your children's life. And through
So it's an ongoing thing. So we must be aware why we make choices.
Right. Well, I love your I hope you talk about it at the next show, about your Christmas tradition on Christmas Eve with the angel and the Christmas tree. And I think the other thing about traditions that's interesting is that we do it, we're not just responding to what the world tells us we have to do. It's something we're taking from our own experience and bringing forward. And it makes, as you say, it makes life meaningful for our family.
Right, and what we want to do here is we want to share different experiences.
Right.
And it's important to us to hear different perspectives of women and be inspired by their own stories.
Right.
So sometimes we might have an expert come in and talk about something more particular, but I think in general we really welcome women from all walks of life, from different experiences, sharing their stories with us. And we want to hear from you too. We have an email address. It's called tinaandmaryshow@gmail.com. So we would love to hear from you too, our audience.
About your particular...
and your questions about an upcoming show, and please share your stories. So it's very important. And women are heroines in so many different ways, even as homemakers and mothers. If we think of women being expert multitaskers, right? And how many things women end up juggling in their lives.
Right, they have a certain genius, I think, problem solving. They certainly, some people have this struggle, and I know, Tina, you went to graduate school and decided to stay at home with your children, and are you wasting your talents by staying at home with children? Not at all. I mean, you're the ultimate educator when you're raising your family. So we'll also talk about choices like that, choices to stay home with your children, how to balance your work and your life if you are working outside the home, the reasons why you decide to do one or the other, whether you decide I'm going to work full-time, I'm going to work part-time, but I'm going to find time for family in this time or in this way. So many women also have the challenge of taking care of not only their own children and their husband, or if they're not married, their parents. They could be taking care of their parents or elder relatives, and that's another challenge that we're going to explore in one of our shows. How does that work? How does that enrich them on one hand and challenge them time-wise and energy-wise? Right,
and we have a great list of topics also that are about family, about marriage, about parenting, and we're going to talk about the joys of those things and about the challenges and the fun and
best practices.
Right.
We hope to talk about best practices and help each other.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
So I think there's going to be something in it for everyone.
Definitely.
And
we even have topics that are less profound, if you will, but also a part of our life, like how do we use our phone, text messaging, use of computers and email, internet access. How do we control those things in our families or in our personal lives so that we become our best selves, basically, that women are able to contribute that great gift they have, their genius, their unique traits to society and to family.
Right, right. And there are lots of areas that represent kind of an overlap between this more public life and a private identity. For example, the home. I think many women tend to complain about the challenges of keeping the home tidy and comfortable. But of course, the home is also an extension of the self. And if we see it as such, it becomes something actually enriching to make our house beautiful. And it's also a place where we interact with friends, with the larger family. So hospitality is extremely important to how we see ourselves, and it's a great gift to our families too, to interact with other people in our own home and give kind of that gift of hospitality.
Definitely.
So there are many layers of importance and choice. So things that might seem maybe even bothersome, whatever, keep your house tidy. In the bigger scheme of things, they make a lot of sense. And we can connect that to the bigger picture we have of ourselves and of our lives and who we want to be as people, as women.
Right, right. So we're going to talk about those basic things that may seem, superficial or something that we can delegate to someone else. and see them, as you say, through their
give meaning,
give them their true meaning: food, hospitality, our homes, inviting people in, as you say, our traditions, the art of living, basically, right?
Yes.
So we have many different topics in that area.
I'm just reminded, in your show, 80 is the New 40, you often use the term to live with purpose and passion.
Right.
I really love that because it's really encouraging, it's very strengthening, it imparts a lot of enthusiasm for something. And I think that's what we all want. We want to have enthusiasm for what we do.
That's so true.
And while there might be many things we will just never really be enthusiastic about, if we can somehow connect them to the larger purpose, then we can feel good about it and it has meaning.
Right. And I think that you touched on those big things in our lives: family, friendships. What is really important, and how are we driven? And to get right back to this idea of choices, and I have to say, Tina picked this title, and we've been thinking a lot about it because it's true. Our life consists of many choices, some really big,
yes,
some
and
very
they can
small.
paralyze us, right? Because ultimately we have to decide what do we do.
Right. What do we do with our time?
What feels like the right choice and why?
Right, why? So we hope to get very deep and look at the why as well.
Plus, there are also experiences in life that are unexpected.
Right.
Big transitional things. Maybe we have to move to a new city or a new country even. Or we might lose a loved one. Many things can happen in the positive and in the negative.
Right.
And if we have no purpose and no direction, it's much harder to deal also with those situations. Right. If we don't have a compass about where do I want to go in my life in general, we could very easily be overwhelmed by these new challenges.
Exactly.
So I think we're going to be talking also very concretely about certain big transitions in life, career changes, marriage or divorce, things that are also difficult.
And painful.
But I think
and
what's
loss.
so great about actually women are very good at talking through these emotional issues and and figuring out the meaning of things.
Right.
I think that's actually our particular gift as women, to really go deeper on things.
Right.
So, and there are solutions. And we can, people might say, well, that's a male thing, think of the solution. Well, I think women are very good at finding solutions in very complex situations.
Right. And I think there are other geniuses that they have the ability to be, as you say, to adjust to difficulties and with grace, that they're able to take that new situation, whether it be a move or a loss of a loved one, and not only, as you say, come up with solutions, but help everybody else accept and adjust to difficulties. So there's that, I don't know what the word is, that flexibility or that ability to endure, that strength, the courage maybe to face difficulties and adjust to them.
And we still also have a big conflict in our generation between family and career. And there's those women who decide to be at home full time, and they are homemakers and raise their children, and perhaps they often today feel not really respected socially because so many women have great careers and work, and so they feel somehow that they're left behind a little bit. But then of course we all know lots of professional women who miss being with their family and miss being with their children and being at home. But even though we have these different experiences as women, I think what women do really well is they can still sit together and talk about what that means to them and somehow arrive at a common ground. Right. And I think we want to speak to both those groups of women because actually both of those groups of women want to somehow bridge that gap. Right? And women who are at home, they want to be heard, and they want to know that they are making an impact on a bigger scale. Right. And of course the professional women also want to feel that they are indeed connected to a more personal life and a life that's privately very meaningful. So there are lots of questions that women have today. It's not as easy to say, oh, women can do everything or anything they want to do nowadays.
No, everything costs them something. It's going to cost something, but but I think one of the things we want to get to is in this show is the consciousness of the decision. So when they decide to stay at home or when they decide to work part-time, what is it that they're sacrificing and what is it they're gaining, and have they weighed those things in the balance? You know, when they decide I'm going to stay home at the expense, quote unquote, of my career, what have I given up and what have I gained? And what are my priorities? So I think we'll talk a lot about priorities. What, you know, why do we set what are our priorities? How do we adhere to them? And how do they affect our small decisions and our large decisions?
Mm-hmm. Right. And I think, and as we talked a little bit just before, there are these big transitions that are not always just positive. That can be actually very bad changes in our life. And when we know where we want to get to eventually, that will help us to get through this difficult situations.
Right. To have that long vision.
And even, you know, if you're a homemaker, like I am most of the time, you know, there are lots of situations, and some of our audience might be able to relate to that are just teeth grinding, where we just want to scream and we just want to, you know, throw the dinner on the floor and run outside. You know, just give it a minute.
Right. How to cope with
like, why am I here? Why am I doing this?
How to cope with all these emotions that sometimes are just short-lived, and we can, as you say, you can move beyond it and say, why did I let myself get so angry or upset or resentful or sad? We'll even talk about down the road a little. We'll talk about sadness that sometimes sets in just by virtue of our humanity. We do have times when we're sad, that we could be depressed. And what are some of the ways we can cope with that? And obviously there's medical ways, but there are also some very practical things that we can do to avoid that and to overcome it.
Yes, and also you've dealt a lot with the idea of aging in your other show.
Dealing with it in my personal life.
It's about, you know, you know, that's a big deal for women, and women deal with this differently from men. You know, you hear of men having midlife crises; they run out and buy a Harley Davidson or something. I haven't heard of women do that.
Yes, we travel abroad.
We do other things.
Well, yes, it's true, and I think that's interesting. You know,
and those are big transitions, including women who've been at home, who want to get back to a career or start a new career. Right? These are big challenges, and we can be confident as women that we can do that, and we are able to shift gears when we feel the need.
Right, and I think we can get to those big questions, like how, if women are quote unquote the gifted and unique sex, not that men are not gifted, but we have a special role in society where we're the nurturers, we have that role in the family. How can we translate that role into society? So how do we get more involved? You know, are we involved in our communities, the small community maybe of our town or our school or church, and maybe there's a broader spectrum, a broader arena where we should be using our voice and forming opinions and expressing those opinions, the public square. You know, how do we get involved with the public square and not be intimidated by, I don't know, the bureaucracy of it, or the men in suits that maybe we haven't.
Right, and our voice counts.
Sure,
definitely. And actually, me originally being from Europe, I really welcome this confidence in this country that everybody has a voice. It's really a very democratically minded country, much more than any other country in the world, where people really feel they can contribute. And those who don't feel they can, they are told they can. And that's what we're going to do here.
Right.
We all have an important role to play. And you know, if you have been a mother at home for 10, 15 years, you have learned a lot, and you have a lot to share and to contribute to public life, to, you know, wherever you want to get involved or want to be heard. It's a great skill builder to take care of a home and to raise your children.
You become an expert in humanity when you have 5 children, right? I mean, 5 boys.
Oh, yes.
4 boys.
Oh yeah, God, yeah. Wow, 5 children.
5 children, and Tina's very modest, but she also has a PhD in history from Harvard, so she's has her expertise in I think it's the middle class, the transition of the middle class before? Tell me.
Yes, in the 18th century, long time ago.
Right, but still relevant.
Right, but I think that actually has informed my overall interest in culture and why do people do certain things.
Right.
Because I was doing research on family life of the middle class. So
Right.
it was a lot about different roles. You know, women played a certain role, men played a certain role, and obviously that's much more fluid nowadays. For many good reasons also. But you know, it made me really aware of the connection between culture, society, and the way we act.
Right.
So you know, these are important questions. Again,
Right.
why do we act a certain way?
Right. And I tend to think people watch a lot of television. They're very influenced by the media, whether it be, you know, the pop-up ad on the internet or the billboard they see on the highway. And even though they don't consciously know it, they're being influenced. Oh my gosh, I've got to work out so I look like
Right,
that person.
yes.
I've got to look
Right.
beautiful. I've got to have a family that looks like that.
Which can be a problem because
Right.
we are tempted to be very reactive,
Right.
which at the beginning can seem much easier, right?
Right.
Oh, you know, I'm just going to go with that fashion now, instead of developing your own style. And you
Right.
know what? I don't like this fashion. I don't have to wear this mini skirt that doesn't suit me anymore, or you know, try and squeeze into those pants. You know, be confident.
Right, right. That's
You
great.
know?
Yeah, we will talk about those things too. Fashion and why we decide to wear what we wear, why we decide to buy what we buy,
Right.
because we are, in a sense, in this mix, in this sea of ads and people trying to influence. I think you and I probably are in that, and many women out there are in that market target, which is women 30 to 49
Yes.
or something who buy most of what's
And
out
we
there.
all admit
Yeah.
it. All women love to shop. So that's okay. Just don't buy the wrong things.
Right. That's right. So anyway, you can see that we have a big panorama of ideas and shows that we hope to have, and we're probably going to have the show every month. Our next show will be on, as I mentioned, Christmas traditions. We hope to get some input and feedback from you. We invite you again to email
TinaandMaryShow@gmail.com. Tune in and be inspired.
This program was made possible through the generous support of your Medfield friends and neighbors, folks just like you. And thanks for watching.